Thank you. All right. It is 7:30, so I'm going to call to order this special meeting of the Board of Education and we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There you go. I just wanted to begin by thanking you all for your flexibility in rescheduling this from last week. I know that we had anticipated weather that did not end up actually being a weather event, but with our best weather professional guidance, we'd anticipated there might be some slick roads right when our meeting would be ending. And for the sake of our staff and our student workers as well, we really wanted to prioritize safety. So,
and I just want to say thank you for the weather event tonight because the rain is really sad. Some of the goes along with it.
a lot of fun. But
Just
I
weather.
do, I
Oh, thank you.
thank you for your flexibility in getting this rescheduled, and we will do our best to keep this brief because, as you all know, we've already been in 2 hours worth of meetings. So we're gonna move through the items that we really needed to address tonight. Audience of citizens, do we have anyone online who wanted to address the board?
One has messaged or indicated yes.
All right. Thank you. We're going to move to new business. We have first order of new business is our 2025-2026 second quarter financial report. We have a very thorough update from Stephanie that we all received, and Stephanie's here as well. Steph, did you want to highlight any of the items from your report?
I think it was forever ago. I don't even remember what I wrote, to be honest. No, it's really just, I like to do halfway through the year, the Fund 11 and the Fund 8, you know, what is in process, what we've completed, what the balances are. So I do that halfway through and then I'll do it at the end of the year. Nothing really stands out right now at this point. We're still plugging away in a good spot. Couple things have come up in the special ed realm, but nothing out of, crazy. So, our surplus went down a little bit. And I'm still waiting on the open choice. What our percent, what we're getting for our dollar amount, because like I said before, I'm nervous that we're gonna go under the threshold and get 8,000 instead of 10,000. I've emailed the state once a week for the last 5 weeks because they said they had to do their census on January 31st, and she should have a better idea for me. I've emailed once a week since then. I have not heard back. So I'm keeping it around 40,000 right now for the surplus. That kind of goes into the authorized spending report also. But I do want to touch on, actually, because I was looking at it in the quarterly report, it's not a huge difference when you compare last year to this year. But if you notice up in the salary line items, we're a little bit higher available in classified and certified. And one of the main reasons in the certified is with the new teacher's contract this year, we allowed some to do the balloon payments. So if they chose the 26 pay option, their pay is lower through the year. So that's why it looks like there's more available than the previous year. But that's because it's all will catch up at the end of the year. And trying to project that out, I sit there and I said, God, I hope I'm doing this right. With that last balloon payment that everybody's going to get, that I make sure I capture all the right people. I pretty sure I got it accurate. So that one will always look a little bit higher. And then for the classified, the 11012, typically in the past, the paraprofessionals that are related to the Hartford students that we bill Hartford for, they were always just put into the regular expense, and then I would journal it out at the end. I actually had payroll pre-app cost center this year where it gets charged automatically to the billing account. And so they're not even seen here. So that's why it looks like it's higher, we're 10% higher available than last year, because last year had the 12 Hartford pairs in there that I, again, move out at the end of the year. So this is a true, we have 56% left in our para salary line. And like we always say, halfway through the year, if those are in the 50% range, you know, we're doing well. So those are just a few things. If anybody happened to notice, it was a little bit higher available left. Questions?
So when you say you're estimating around a $40,000 surplus at the end of the year, is that anticipating the $8,000 reimbursement or a $10,000
No,
reimbursement?
that's the 10,000.
That's at 10,000. So how does that swing? If
It
we,
was, and well, 48 people times $2,000.
Mhm.
So 48, 86, 96, or about $100,000 would get taken off of that. So we would technically be in a deficit. I'm
Okay.
praying. I mean, when I calculate, it's like 4.95. I mean, if they don't round up, I'm hoping they round up to 5.
Okay, I see. I see.
But, you know,
Um,
we've been 5 the last, God, 6 years.
mhm.
But I do know that our enrollment did dip a little bit.
Gotcha.
So hopefully by next meeting, I'll know that answer.
When do
But
they
this also,
typically?
yes, this also though includes you giving Bob enough.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, so
Not
I've
really
got
surplus.
accounts that I can work with, you
Yeah.
know, I'm giving a decent amount of facilities until we get out of the winter season because the things just keep breaking. But once we get into the spring, you know, I'll start bringing my projections down in facilities. I got the natural gas because it's been so cold. I mean, one of the bills that I just paid was like 10 grand for one of the schools, which is unheard of. We've never seen that.
Which school is that?
I
No.
want to say it was no, not Gildersleeve. Wasn't Brownstone's the lowest because of the solar panel. Brownstone's doing great. Valley View, maybe it's either Valley View or Gildersleeve, but not the high school.
Mhm.
I can't remember.
Mm.
But yeah, it's all of them. I mean, 7,000, 8,000, 9,000 is really what all three have been. Electricity, I'm watching because we switched now, our NG went up. So we had a really good rate and
Mhm.
then we got a decent rate, but it's not as low as the old one. So electricity is gonna go up a little bit. So I'm watching that. But we usually end up in a surplus and that's, so I'm hoping that I budgeted enough to help offset that. But other than those two, like I said, it's just been such a cold winter. You know, I'll start adjusting my projections based off of, you know, as the seasons change.
What about overtime for snow removal and things like that nature? I mean, we're seeing, we're seeing, you know, parking lots having to be cleared early or on a weekend or whatever.
So I mean, it's not, wow, you know what I mean? It's more than average, but it's not anything that I'm worried about. We've been so low in overtime up till now that having these few extra
Okay.
didn't really do anything.
Glad to get that.
I know.
Well, I hope Valley View's not thinking.
I would have realized it when I saw I had this much left at the bottom.
All right, other questions for Stephanie? Thank you so much, Stephanie. All right. An update, Board of Education policies, first reading. This is policy 6142.101. It's our board wellness policy, and many of you will recognize it because we approved it relatively recently. A little context, we approved a policy model language that was provided to us by CABE. The Wellness Committee, through Chuck, submitted that to the state for review. The state came back in late January and said there are 2 pieces of language from your policy that are missing and you need to have this corrected by March 1st. So typically we would do 2 readings on a new policy. But tonight I'm going to ask for us to waive the second reading and take action on this new policy. You'll see in the document that was provided, there's the 2 highlighted yellow sections. So it really is just 2, the changes are the inclusion of 2 sections of language that that the state says that that we need to include in our policy, and they are related to
Protection. And also the kind of food that can be served at parties and classrooms because of all the food allergies and other issues with what might be brought in from home or what teachers are providing. So this is just language that we have to clean up from the triennial review. that took place last year.
That's right. So the first chunk is really just codifying what we are already doing in practice. It says that the district won't penalize or in any way identify or threaten the privacy of students who receive free or reduced lunch.
Yeah.
We don't do any of the things that are identified in this policy, so this is just spelling that out very clearly for the state. That's not a change of practice at all. And as Meg's just talked about, the second chunk is really cracking down, unfortunately, and this kind of bums me out a little bit, but cracking down on food in elementary school classrooms. I think that in practice, that's been a little bit lax. Parents have been able to send in snacks if they're from the, allergy list, approved, allergy-free, allergy-friendly list. And the state said, nope,
Can't do that.
they really don't want that happening in elementary schools. So the focus moving forward will have to be on food-free celebrations and I know that our administrators and staff will work to implement that, but that is the piece of this that does represent a little bit of change.
That's unfortunate. That's such a fun
Yeah.
part of the elementary school holiday celebrations.
I think it was more that they also were concerned because it really is about non-food activities just related to classroom activities that might be going on. So it makes sense, we don't want to offer snacks or favorite foods to kids for performance of academics or whatever, or in the activities of going around doing the town store, for instance, or the town wide. You might have some food things that were not able to be served. So
Chuck did say that there would be the option for if the class is having a class holiday celebration
Right.
before winter break,
Yeah.
that the school would have the option of purchasing some snacks through our school lunch provider, food service provider.
Yeah.
And that's in here. So that option does still exist, but there won't be an option for parents to send in snacks.
And that's sort of what the state's told us.
And the
Yeah,
cheese,
right.
the cheese barrels in some of the classrooms probably nothing else, but that's okay.
Cheese
The big cheese puff.
Yeah, that
barrels
was my
the
question,
kindergarten-
like if a teacher gives out snack, like is this applied to?
It does apply to what she's
Yeah.
handing out to kids
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
Including candy, that's,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's-
just this is gonna
Well,
be very
well,
difficult to enforce.
It doesn't really say that.
Given what the practice is throughout,
Yeah,
at least all of our lower.
sugary foods are not,
That's
I think
not
if you
supposed to be
read that
happening.
further.
not-
Yeah,
They have
candy, they're not supposed to have,
Yeah.
I know,
Yes.
I know.
then that's on the
You'll
principal.
also note it is just at the elementary school level, so
Up to what grade?
I'm K6.
It's happening everywhere and
Yeah.
it is like some teachers are breaking the rules and some are. It's like a building management. It's hard. It's a hard thing.
It's not a Portland problem, is what you're.
Yeah, it's
saying.
not. No, it's everywhere. I mean, even
Yeah.
at the middle schools, they don't want us giving out food.
Yeah, and Sarah, I hear you. That was my reaction too when Chuck was talking to us in policy last week, because they're like, this is really sort of a drag.
Yeah.
And it's a drag to have to enforce this. I understand. I understand where it's coming from, and as Meg said, I think they're looking to kind of separate, so that food is not a reward. And I understand that, but on the other side, I also understand that food is part of how we celebrate community events. So it's a drag, but the state asked us to revisit our policy and to include this language. So I don't know that we really have a choice to push back on it.
It's been at least 10 years.
It has.
Oh, yeah.
School
Yeah.
that we have not had food at all, and now it's just part of the
There's
culture.
other,
and
yeah,
it's not a
stickers
big
and
deal.
pencils and.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
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 As a family that.
If you're not reading food labels sometimes, and I'd had it at after school programs with things that were about allergies or whatever, the parents thought that was an okay snack to send in, so it gets complicated, and then if you do have a child who's, airborne peanut related, or now when you go into anaphylaxis shock.
We
It's
wanna
like,
keep
oh
it safe,
man,
for
we don't
sure.
need that, that's even more traumatic than not having food in classroom.
Sure, no, there's no question that we want to keep kids safe.
Yeah.
And we want to be in compliance with
We do.
with state.
So I'll make a motion that we accept this policy 6142-101 wellness policy with the 2 changes as described.
I'll second.
Seconded by Erin. Any discussion, questions, comments?
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Or for my learning.
Yep.
On the nutrition and things like that, we outsource most of the meals to Dexo, whatever. Who monitors them or who's owns that process? You do?
Yippee.
Stephanie
Stay tuned.
oversees them and, we have lots and lots of requirements and reports we have to submit and many meetings we have to have and minutes we have to do.
I figured, yeah.
We did get in trouble one year. Got-
Yeah.
But like, what was that? Your first year, right? No.
We still haven't done it.
Yeah, so, we have to do the triennial reviews and
To do the student advisory board,
Right.
where we invite students to give their
Yeah.
opinions.
About food.
But then there's nothing really we can do.
Yeah.
They want pizza every day, or they want this and that, but there's limitations to what we can provide
I have to
them.
tell you though, any of the food services, including Sodexo, when I have seen them at national conferences, they are making all kinds of wonderful organic things and
Oh
vegetables.
yeah, we just signed
fruit.
up with a farm to table program because the state was giving out funding.
Yeah.
So Portland got about $9,800, and so we're working with Old Spring Farm in East.
East Hampton,
Yeah, yeah.
To get all our fresh produce from them.
Yeah.
For the year,
Yeah.
so that's
Great,
pretty
and it
cool.
makes a big difference.
Yeah, and the state
But-
gave us the funding
Yeah.
for it, so it's no cost to
Yeah.
us.
The other thing that Sodexo does is they will do children's gardens where on an elementary school playground or whatever, and they'll provide the free seeds and they'll, do the expertise. And I met with them a couple of years ago about a children's garden. And that was the woman up in East Hartford. We weren't doing anything here, but we were doing things with the junior chef program, which was good, which also got kids involved in cooking and eating and trying different foods.
I got to be a
the
judge.
Yeah.
No, I didn't do it.
Great.
My daughter was a
Again,
contestant
I
a
know
couple
she
years
did.
ago. It's a really cute
It
program.
was a great
Yeah.
program, but.
But to answer your question, yes, Dave, I have to do 2 monitorings. I have to walk around, watch how they're, bringing the students in, how they treat the students, with the, whether it's free reduced or if they have a balance. How, you're not supposed to say, oh, you owe money. You just say you have to put your snack back, so I have to watch, they comply with all that. And then I have to do, a monitoring of how, if they're actually practicing what they're saying is in their contract. So there's all these forms I have to fill out.
We give her a badge.
Are you looking at the actual food and saying, hey,
Yeah,
that
that was
really
my-
shouldn't be part of the guideline and we not?
Well, no, so I have to count the components. There's a whole list of like what the components are, as long as it's got a grain, they get a milk. I don't know what they all are, but
The grain, the
they'll
meat,
say,
the
they to make it a reimbursable meal, they have to make sure they have X, Y, and Z on their plate. If they don't
Okay.
have the vegetable, or the grain, they say, oh, they have like a bunch right at the counter. They say, oh, you could pick from raisins or this, and that'll make it a reimbursable meal. So we have to make sure that they're doing that and that, everything is fresh.
Mhm.
And also the right temperature, that's.
Yeah, we got all those new serving lines from having the surplus
great.
in that account, so we're set as far as everything they need equipment wise.
So you're in the cooler checking the Best By dates on other packages.
Don't do that. I'm not a food inspector. They do get health inspections though. They get this, I think, twice a year that they have to do.
Okay, thanks, appreciate it. I'm just
And then Chatham,
learning.
this Chatham Health comes in, because I just paid the license fee for that, so they come in and they inspect things.
Yeah.
Also.
Okay,
A lot of
thanks.
oversight. Good question. Any other questions?
Are we still using styrofoam trays?
No,
Are they
Oh.
cardboard now or are they?
no, they
still-
get their like these little like cardboard cup
They are,
things.
okay.
They
Okay,
do.
Good, thank you.
I just, as a newbie, when we have the policy and maybe put Annie and Kim were saying, like, the food still gets handed out, like this particular policy. Then it's up to the building to say, hey, there's snacks in the classroom, or what happens next? Or
Yeah.
How do we communicate this has changed? Because as a parent of kids with allergies, like. I know it still happens and it was a concern of mine, so.
Sure.
That is a good point.
This is an important change, an important update, and
Yeah.
I think my understanding is that Chuck Rishon is taking the lead on making sure
Right.
that this is communicated clearly to.
Yeah, there've been two things. Chuck is part of his
Yeah.
responsibility as wellness.
Yeah.
He's shared this with the leadership team. I was in the room
Mhm.
and there was you have to enforce it. You're the building principals.
Yeah.
Now, also in addition to that, the nurse is involved with that. And then the third layer is on our wellness committee, we have reps from each of the buildings. So, we've got our wellness committee reps delivering the wellness message and then, of course, but the enforcement really, you have to expect teachers to do the right thing, right? But
Yeah.
sometimes teachers need to be reminded by administrators, gently at first. And
And,
not the candy canes and.
right, and now our language is very clear in the policy to back that up. If
That
it's
should
been
be-
wishy-washy in the past, then that's on us.
Could also be an insert into the parent handbook about snacks being sent or birthday parties or whatever the new policy is. So it'll exist in a few places. And as a parent, I know it's fun to send in the kid's favorite snack and have a party, but I think this is relieving a lot of people of having to run out at 7 o'clock in the morning to buy the donut, to buy the cupcake and send it to school and, all of the above. So.
In our district, we couldn't even do Valentine's with like little candy treats in it. And it
Yeah.
would just be,
Yeah.
little cards or pretzels.
All sorts of fun will do that.
Exactly, yeah, more junk.
I know.
But every day I just scooch a little bit in the garbage and he doesn't notice.
I do too. I get it. All right, the motion has been made. It has been seconded. There has been discussion. Is there any further discussion? I'm gonna call the question then. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you all for your willingness to take swift action on this. Chuck will make sure we are in compliance with the standards. All right, the next item of new business is the open choice seats for the 2026-2027 school year. So Charles, I'm gonna ask you to talk us through this.
Sure. So it's that time of year again, where we need to submit, our seat declaration. So you do have the seat declaration page in here. There's a mistake in the motion, which I'll point out to you. So next year, I looked over our enrollment, right? I'm comfortable opening, asking you to approve to us to open, sorry. In the kindergarten level, we'll open 10 seats, right? And we rarely fill 10. First grade, we have capacity. I'm gonna ask you to open 8, right? Again, our goal is to get to 5%, right? We know how important 5% is because we get the bonus, but also now especially with what you heard tonight, that 5% is a important number for us.
And to be clear, 5% has been our goal for many, many years.
Correct.
That's not a change in practice.
Not a
That
change.
is just trying to continue the trajectory we've been on.
Now, what's interesting here is I want you to look at second grade. You're noticing I don't have any there, but if we get to a point where there's flexibility in the budget, the first priority I have is to ask you that teacher back, right?
Yeah.
If we get that teacher back, then I would be very comfortable opening 10 seats at second grade.
Okay.
Understanding that we often open 10, but we might only get 2 or 3 kids, right?
Yeah.
But 10 should signal that we have the capacity, right? So again, I'm going to leave that at 0 for now, and then I'm going to loop back to sort of what my ask is for the board at the end. So for now, it's 10 kindergarten, 8 first grade, 0 second grade for now, 4 third grade, 1 fourth grade. And then you see 4 and 4 for 5th and 6th grade. We know that that's a relatively smaller group of kids. 0 7th, 0 8th, 2 9th, 2 10th, right? And then 0 11th, 0 12. So my ask is to approve this, but also in the language of the motion is, by the way, the motion has 10 in 9th grade. That's wrong. I'm asking for 2, right? But then it is, and authorize the superintendent to offer an additional open choice enrollment of up to 5%. Here's what I'm going to ask for that, because something happened this summer.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Our enrollment's down, right? We don't have as many open choice kids as we want. We're off by what, 0.05, right? This summer, you approved this, and I was getting calls from open choice you approved me last year, the open choice, and then sibling requests. But I started getting calls over the summer from open choice saying, hey, we have a student who is interested in, but you hadn't authorized, right? Initially, I was saying, nope, board authorized me to do this. I'm not going more, right? But then I was starting to see the numbers come in and realizing we were going to be depressed below in the numbers. And I'm calling Laurel over the summer going, Laurel, I might want to be opening seats here. We have capacity. I want to fill them. Hartford or Craig is telling me they have the ability. Are you good with it? Am I going to get in trouble? Right? Because I'm going beyond what you authorized me to do. And Laurel was like, I got you, do this, Charles, and we started to, but at that point, it was too late. Right? I'd reacted too quickly and the students that were potentially interested in Portland went elsewhere.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry, reacted too slowly. So my ask for you tonight is to approve the seats that I have here, but then give me flexibility, right?
Mhm.
Like say, Charles, we want you to fill up to 5% of our seats. Understanding I might be at, 5.2, 5.3, a little bit more, but I don't want to be less. I need flexibility so that we can, Tricia will load this in for us. We'll have those seats. We are marketing aggressively. We did the mailing. Chuck has been out, pitching us.
Full of pairs, I think, and there's one somewhere they're coming up.
Correct. And then, so this is what we're going with. But if in the middle of August, I get a call and they're like, hey, we have a second grade student or a 11th grade student. I can then be looking at where we are going,
Yes.
I want to go. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And what I think is smart, we've always said like 2 or 4 or 5 kindergartners. When you open it up for 10, chances are kindergartners, pre-K kids going to kindergarten sometimes want to go with their friends. And, a mother, will meet up with somebody and say, yeah, we could put the kids in the same school. I think by opening up more seats, it's more likely that kids coming out of Head Start that are going to kindergarten to first grade might want to come with a friend because it does make it easier than putting a 5-year-old on a bus for, an hour every day by themselves. So I think that's a smart move.
Right. And there's no doubt that a lot of our seats that we filled over is more sibling.
Yes.
Because of course,
Again,
that
You have
makes
to say,
sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. So I think this is a good plan.
Yeah, and there's no way we're gonna fill all these seats. I mean,
Well, don't be surprised. I
What's the
mean,
maximum?
people talk about what Portland can do, so.
Yeah. that would be
Most we've ever seen was 70.
the most we've ever seen. I think was like, what,
What,
60?
60?
Yeah, I mean, it just, especially at kindergarten, we normally don't get 10 kindergarten. They're babies. I mean, 5-year-olds, that's a big ask. Usually we're getting 2 or 3. But often, that's why I really want to try to get that second grade. That's where first and second grade is where we're often picking up more, but
Sure.
we don't have the capacity now until something shakes loose in the budget. I'm working hard, right? And more to come on that as we talk about insurance and other things, but the first ask back would be that second grade position, which then we could move quickly, but then I don't have to come back to you to change this. You're saying green light, Charles,
Yeah,
fill the seats.
so.
Just to clarify, so you're asking for approval for 85 seats and then like this last line here is basically saying like you can finagle where those seats go.
Yeah, you,
You're not asking for additional seats past the 85.
no, I up to 5%. Like,
Right.
and then again, if you start to see, if you don't get any kindergarten, don't get any 9th or 10th graders, but then we were able to put the second grade back, we can lock them in there. Just because it's learned a lot about open choice. The lottery process goes through multiple rounds. Students,
And students and families have to
Decide.
they have to decide quickly. It's not a lot of time.
yeah, because I mean, often I like it literally. I got the call. It's like, can you put them in this seat? I need to know now before I get off the phone with you. And I was like, I am not authorized to do that.
Yeah.
And then I was calling Laurel and she was saying, call him back, and
You're done.
Say yes.
and then I'm calling back and they're like, oh, they went to their 3rd or their 4th or their other spot. So I need that.
So I
Makes
have a
sense.
request, and this has nothing to do with how many numbers of kids we have. But I know a lot of times, buses are called and they're the Hartford kids. I'd like to see them identified in a different way. I don't care what we come up with or what the administrators come up with, but I think it's an optic. And I think that it is a little bit of an equity issue in terms of being referred to. They're Portland kids. They're gonna come here and hopefully they're gonna graduate from Portland High School, and they're gonna be proud to be Highlanders at, when they do walk through the door. And I think, I saw it over the years, the Hartford bus, Hartford kids. We've got to figure out a better way to identify them or not identify them in a more equitable way. So that's my request, especially if we're going to have upwards of 50 or 60 kids, I think, across the board. So I really feel very strongly about that, from the language we use and when we address them.
person first language would be best practice. Students who live in Hartford, or students who's the bus number.
Bus number
All the
10.
buses are numbered.
It's a
Like,
bus number.
Do they?
Yeah.
We're bus number 10, whatever.
Yeah,
the bus
I was
number
thinking the
is.
same thing. Just a whole bus.
My kids are on bus too.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
That
Just
I
give them a
can,
bus number.
Yes.
It
that I
doesn't
can do
ident-
without respect to the open choice seats. That
Yeah,
can-
exactly, exactly.
We'll make sure that gets.
And also, I am going to go to the Head Start program on Friday, and I will put the bug in the teachers' ears that if they're directing kids to open choice, that we consider Portland as an excellent place to come. But be careful what you wish for.
May not leave without eat.
That sounds like a good problem. So you were saying, Charles, in the motion language that you provided, you wanted to make a,
It's right at the end there.
you wanted to change that?
No, the only thing that changes where it, see where it says 10,
Yeah.
very bottom, that needs to be 2.
Oh, 2 under new 10th grade seats. Gotcha.
We read the whole thing?
Yes, if anyone's willing to read the whole thing, the whole motion, that
Oh,
would
I'm
be
ready.
appreciated.
I move to recommend the Portland Board of Education that the district declare up to 85 open choice seats to include 10 new kindergarten seats, 8 new first grade seats, 4 new third grade seats, 1 new fourth grade seat, 4 new fifth grade seats, 4 new sixth grade seats, 2 new ninth grade seats, and 2 new 10th grade seats. And to authorize the superintendent to offer an additional open choice enrollment for up to 5% of seats.
Second motion made by Erin, seconded by Sarah. Any further conversation, discussion, questions? Comments? All right, motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any abstentions? Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. All right, final item of new business is our, which really probably should have been under old business, but here we go. It's our education specifications plans.
Oh, right.
And I guess I just wanted to start this conversation by, just commending Charles for his presentation to the joint Board of Selectmen and Board of Education this evening. I think that was really excellent. The way you framed the whole thing start to finish. And it was a lot.
Input from a lot of people, including you.
Input from lots of people, and it was good conversation and good questions, and is there anything else that you wanted to add?
I mean, I said it tonight, I think tonight we're gonna have unanimous support from this board. I think you all see that I'm really hoping for unanimous support from the board. To me, it's a good deal. I mean, these reimbursement rates, Bryce said, the open choice, I mean, that was a game changer. We didn't know this time last year. In pre-K, excuse me, I'd say open choice pre-K, right? Also that 53.9% is higher than it was last year. So, things are good right now. I don't know that it's gonna get better. It's kind of,
I don't think so.
it's a gamble to wait anymore. And, I quote, I'll quote Bob today. I just gotta say, because I wrote it down when he said it and I cringed a little. He said, quote, "We might not be able to make it." Right now, he was talking specifically about the lighting system, right? But then I asked him to expand on that, and he said, Charles, take a look at my desk. Every day, it's a lot of work to take care of 5 old buildings, right? And I mean, it would be so amazing to me to have a brand new Valley View, a brand new Gildersleeve for the kids, right? For our kids. I mean, and for our teachers with air conditioning and good indoor quality and design with school security and beautiful school for the kids. But then for the town, set it and forget it, take care of it, change the filters, right? 25 years. I mean, that's a legacy, right? That's a generational opportunity that I think we've reflected well in the specs plans. I know you've seen them, and they've got input from all the teachers and the principals and the architects, and these reflect the numbers you've seen. And look, I really hope we get this done in the spring. It would be a fun and exciting project for all of us.
I like the fact that they're photovoltaic ready. When they were talking about building, they're not gonna put solar panels on. But I think the green energy is still front and center to future building, and I was happy to see that that was noted in the project, the projected costs. I think it's a great plan, and I think, you know, when we started it 6 years ago, it was $28 million worth of repairs, which would just have fixed it. And we would be starting again if we had done the 28 million, if they'd given us the money for 28, we'd be doing it all over again. Because we were already behind in 3 of the schools.
Yeah.
So it just makes so much sense, and I'm so glad that the renovation or the repairs to Gildersleeve have now become the renovation too as well. I think it makes so much sense if we're gonna do 2 schools.
I feel strongly that it's a better investment of Portland
It is,
taxpayer
absolutely.
dollars.
Absolutely, it is.
And I think that that's become, I mean, we've known that all along, but I think it's become clearer and clearer as we've moved through this process.
I'd just to mention one other thing. You know, I don't want to be cavalier about this, right? But, you know, some people are going to lose their jobs, right? I mean, we're talking about layoffs, right? These are good people. I know them. I work with them every day. You know, some of these reductions might come through attrition. I'm hearing of retirements and people looking for positions and things, but not all of them, right? I mean, and also I want to recognize that this is going to be hard, right? I mean, moving the 6th grade to the middle school, that's a heavy lift. We've gotta be prepared for some growing pains with that. You know, putting pre-K 2 at Gildersleeve for 2 years. Not easy. There are not bathrooms in the pre-K class. This is not, you know, I know there's a lot to celebrate here, but there's
a lot of.
some sacrifice here that we need to putting, you know, 3-5 at Brownstone as we build a multi-million-dollar Nordic spa right behind it. Right there, be aware, Board of Education, that we'll be excited if this happens because we can see what this will
5
create.
years, yeah.
But it's going to be a hard 5 years, right? There's a lot of work, and also it's not going to be perfect, right? I mean, we're going to have setbacks. There's going to be stressful moments here. You know, bids might come back higher. You know, we're going to have an architect and an OPM, and we're going to do our best. Can I guarantee you that we're going to spend that exact amount of money? No. Am I hoping it's going to be less? Of course. You know, Cromwell, you put your best plan out there, and then you had to go back and ask for a supplemental, right? I don't anticipate that. I'm sure that was a very hard day in Portland, but in Cromwell, excuse me, right? I don't want that for Portland, but I don't want to oversell this either. I want to recognize
No,
that.
construction is construction. It's not scientific. And I noticed that some of the site work was not included as reimbursable by, you know, and there's rocks and there's some water down there.
But I will say,
You know, and so that may or may not increase. And then when you look at it and the whole project and you say, well, we wanted to do that, we're in budget, we're not gonna do that, which is what happened with the high school with the dampers that didn't get put in, so that now we have humidifiers in the summer to take out the humidity because they ran, you know, whatever the money.
reductions, yeah.
You know,
I mean,
it's a trade-off.
as
but I
part of the
think-
building process for
Yeah.
sure, but I do feel very confident that with the amount of expertise and guidance that's gone into creating these documents and these plans and these budgets, that we should be pretty
I
darn
think pretty
close.
We will.
Yeah, it was impressive to be in the space with committee members, the Board of Ed, the Board of Selectmen, and then you naming past people that have had a say. It's been a community, iterative, reflective, sloggy process.
Yeah.
But that's how my grandpa
Everybody
always
was
said,
different,
measure
and
twice, cut
nobody
once.
was
Like,
throwing
we
it.
measured 17 times.
Yeah.
We are ready.
But everybody was in the room tonight. A lot of the
Yeah.
players who
Yeah.
were so opposed to certain things, they all came together. Nobody was throwing anything at anybody. It seemed like they were coalescing around the story that Charles was saying. And I think that was important. And I
Well,
think
they're
it was
part
very
of the story.
succinct.
Yeah, much better.
Yeah.
You know, and also I just want to, you know, make sure that as we go into this with eyes wide open, there's going to be a ton of work for Bob,
Yeah.
a ton of work for Stephanie.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we have a lot of work to do, but I think you got the right people
Yeah.
here. You got the right leadership team.
Yeah.
You know, the wind's in our sails here. I think tonight it begins with hopefully a unanimous approval of these 2 ed specs plans, and then go out, like we talk to our neighbors and make sure people understand that we might not be able to make it, right? But if we don't do this, we definitely won't be able to make it, right? And hey, for 40 plus million, you're gonna get $7 million worth of work. Holy mackerel, that's an astronomical amount of money in my mind still. Get 2 brand new schools for your kids, and for future generations, it's like,
The
that's,
next
that's
30 years.
incredible, right? That's an incredible opportunity, incredible
Well-
gift that this town can give children whose parents haven't even met yet,
That's true.
right?
That's the.
That
And
aren't
for the
Middletown
future,
and Cromwell.
Yeah.
I think the other gift that is part of this process is to make sure that that savings is put into capital
Yeah, that was
right
very
off the
clear.
bat. And I wanted to ask about the money that has been kept in the budget for the payment that is not being made anymore for the middle school, high school project, which is a sizable $480,000 or something. You know, that, and you said it, and you said to the town, fix the roads, do some things to improve the town as well as the schools, because, and that's the whole purview of the plan for conservation and development is, what do we do in the next 10 years to make the town a better place for people that are just moving or thinking about moving in, or, you know, having children that aren't born yet. So I think I think that's a gift that that comes along with the 2 new schools.
Yeah, no, and that's a good point and that is part of the story, right? Is how we get to this in a way that is most affordable and manageable for our community. And it's gonna take some advocacy and probably some pretty tough decision making on the part of the Board of Selectmen not to realize savings, you know, when they potentially could, right? But to instead divert those funds.
Yeah.
When we consolidate our schools, to divert that $1 million in overhead savings, along with the 450,000 that are already in capital from when the high school bonds fell off.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be the case too, this year and next year, that our bond obligations are gonna decrease as a community. And so I think we need to keep talking about, where's that money going? Are we realizing savings, or are we applying what was previously debt service money to capital, so that we can keep chipping away not only at high school, middle school capital projects, but other capital needs that the community has, and know that we have that funding reserved to move towards our debt obligations when this project starts to come online. So it's, I think that's not gonna be easy, but it's gonna be really important. And so I think it's gonna be on all of us to just keep having those conversations.
I think that's also the balance between, you know, a mill rate increase and the foundational amount of money that goes to capital. That to me seems like good fiduciary.
Yeah,
Um,
because what you want to do,
yeah.
and this is why I hope everybody understands, is that if you don't do that, if you take the $1 million as one-time savings and run out a low Board of Ed budget in 1 year, everybody, it'll pass, yes. I mean, everybody will come out and be like, oh my God, they only want 1%, fine. But if you do that, and we're moving on a path to having to pay back 41 million, it's going to be a shock to the community in that year that the mill rate jumps 2 or 3 mills,
Right.
as opposed to a gradual pathway that keeps that money there, helps it as a down payment, and then it's a mill increase, not 2 or 3. Because that year, that my fear is that if you do that and you are in a place where you're asking the community for a 2 or 3 mill rate increase in 1 year, they're gonna get angry and vote down your operating budget,
Mhm.
right? And hey, once you make this commitment to pay back $41 million,
Mhm.
the bankers won't care if your class size in kindergarten is 28. You're paying them back because you're not going to default on that debt, right? So we have to be smart and careful, Portland, about how we get there without, you know, jeopardizing future budget increases, which we know would mean you cut sports, you cut teachers, you start cutting services that hurt kids, right? So that's to your point. Make the hard decisions now.
Right.
Ask for the 4% when you only really need 1, so that you can generate that, put it in capital, so it's there to move over to debt service at the time year the bankers want their money back.
And I think it's on the Board of Selectmen to talk about the mill rate and how it is developed and the impact, because people just, it's like getting a sales tax increase. It's like, oh my God, it went to 6.33, whatever. But, you know, at the end of the day, if people understand what that mill rate is and how it's figured out and how it affects, and just the fiscal health of the town with a good rainy day fund and a good capital improvement plan so that we're improving the buildings. We don't ever want to, I mean, I live in Portland, I own a house in Portland. I don't ever want to be in a position again where we are $28 million worth of maintenance on buildings that are literally falling apart. And, you know, if we don't do the maintenance, we know we've done it in the past. We have paid the price for a new track, which is beautiful, hopefully maintained so that we don't have to replace it in 5 or 10 years. But I think, you know, it's just good fiscal management and I mean, we can only do what we can do with the town giving us money and the state funding the appropriate amount of money to, you know, run our schools. But at the same time, I think that, it's up to the selectmen to talk about their fiscal management, their policy and how, they're, you know, trying to make it improve. That's my soapbox speech. Anyway, yeah.
So back to the ed specs documents, we have two
Yeah.
documents in front of us.
Make the motion, you want to separate them or you want to do them together?
I think we should separate them.
Okay.
Are there any final thoughts, questions? Concerns, ideas?
Let's do it. I don't have the motion, so if somebody else has the motion, then you wanna.
I think it's on.
These are together. You didn't break them out.
Move to recommend to the planning board of
Go right
education to
ahead.
approve the presented education specification plan for Valley View School.
Motion made by Sarah,
Second it.
seconded by Meg. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously.
Go for it.
Move to recommend to the planning board
My
of
friend, go
education
for it.
to approve the presented education specification plans for Hilderson School.
I'll second.
Thank you, Sarah, seconded by Erin. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I am exhausted. I'm sorry, but
So
6 years of.
Have you been
Charles
holding your
Life.
notarize these minutes because it has to
Hope
be
it's
included.
recorded.
Yeah, so.
Yes,
We
your,
submit the
your
minutes.
hoot and holler was recorded, yeah.
That's really, this has been a long.
And on YouTube.
Wonderful process.
That'll be
and
my
I can
first
only say
video.
thank you to everybody that's served on the committees.
Start off
Everybody
with
that
that.
has gone out and spoken in favor of our kids and 21st century buildings for the best education we can provide.
I really appreciate that sentiment, Meg, what you just said, painful and wonderful process. I think that really sums it up. And Erin, you spoke to it earlier, that we heard about this tonight and we've all lived it over the last 6 years. The amount of community input, the
Yes.
number of people involved in various committees and configurations, hearing from a lot of different voices and sections of our community. And I believe that this plan
I do.
pulls all that together. It has been responsive to what our community has indicated they want. And I hope our community sees the value in this.
Charles has said it repeatedly that doing nothing is not an option.
Yep.
You know, is it
Yep.
exciting to think about all the work ahead of us and no rate
Very
increasing?
excited.
Ready to go.
You know, it's gotta get done and this makes the most sense in terms of a financial picture of how to get the work done. So that's why I can support it.
Any other final thoughts? All right, this is exciting, folks. Lost my agenda. Here we go. There's nothing else on the agenda. I think I'm just.
Yeah, there are more citizens or no?
There's no more audience of citizens. It's a brief meeting. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded by Annie.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all for your work tonight.
Yeah, drive safe on home. Might get a little slippery.
Yeah, because I thought I know. As I that the MacBook doesn't have that.
Yeah.
I can
What you.
but